Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another 1/6 scale third-party unlicensed figure unboxing and review video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at none other than the 1/6 scale version from a third-party unlicensed company of Batman from Superman Red Son. Now up until very recently, I number one had no idea that this figure even existed, and number two had no idea what this character or this version of Batman was even about until I watched the brand new, recently released Superman Red Son animated movie. I was super impressed with that storyline. I don't know what about it really connected with me, but I love the content, I love the show, therefore I had to pick up this figure. Now I picked up mine from toyswonderland.com. I have included the link in the description below for your reference. Bear in mind though, this is a third-party unlicensed product. That means the company that manufactured this piece, in fact I can't even tell you who that is because the box is all black, but whoever it is that made this piece doesn't hold the intellectual property rights to the character of Batman or indeed Superman Red Son either, so bear that in mind if you are purchasing this figure. Now while you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon so you're notified as soon as brand new content goes live on the channel. Either way, what we're going to do now is get all of the accessories that come with Batman out of the box, laid out in the light box, and take a closer look at everything he comes with. And here we have all of the accessories that come with Comrade Batman. Now let's start off with the display base first. As you can see, it's a rather sizable piece. This comes in its own separate box with all of these additional accessories. Not sure why they didn't just have one big box, they've gone with two separate ones, but nevertheless, that's how it came packaged. Now I really do like how this piece is sculpted and molded. There is one thing that severely lets this down, and that is the paint application. As you can see, up close, it just doesn't hold up. It looks like a bit of a messy paint application. It's supposed to look like snow, I think, over the top. It just really isn't coming across that way. It doesn't hold up close. You can, of course, get this repainted or do it yourself. You might even be able to do a better job than what you see right here. But out of the box, it is not as good as it could be. I will just say that once, and I know people might say that I'm giving this third-party company a lot of flack. It's just a third-party company trying to put out their piece, but nevertheless, it just doesn't really appeal to me the way it comes fresh out of the box. I do at least like how it's felt on the underside of the display base, so you won't be scratching any shelves. This is luckily quite a light piece, so you shouldn't have any issues with shelves breaking. Now let's take a look at this Batman head sculpt. It's sculpted pretty much exactly like you saw with the Sideshow Batman. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is a recast, which is in fact very, very naughty. You can swap out the mouth plates. They are just sort of pegged in there. They're very stiff. In fact, this one does appear to be glued in there, but you can swap them out if that's what you'd like to do. The one thing though that I'm not too chuffed about is the color of the skin tone. It's very orange. It looks like he's been out in the Red Sun a little bit too long. He's more sort of orangey, pinkish. He looks like he's had a spray tan. It doesn't look great. If you do have a Sideshow Batman, I would highly advise switching out these mouth plates. The rest of the cowl, though, is done fairly nicely, just obviously in a straight matte black, and the eyes are painted white. That mouth plate really does let him down. Now, he only does come with two hands, unfortunately. I don't know if these are recast from anything or not. Then again, they very well could be because that head sculpt was. It's going to have to be up to you guys to decide whether or not that bothers you enough to not pick up this figure. This is, as far as I'm aware, the only 1/6 scale Red Sun version of Batman on the market, so your options are fairly limited. Now, in terms of his accessories, these I am really impressed with. They are really nicely done, and they are made out of metal. For all of you who always ask me, is it made out of die-cast? Absolutely, this time it is. They are nicely weathered, they're nicely detailed, and they are rather pointy on the ends as well, so do be careful. Now, you do get this axe-style, bat-esque sort of weapon. It looks really good, as I said, it's very weighty and it is metal. I am worried about the figure's joints over time holding these pieces, but only time will tell. He does come with this circular-style sickle. They all do have these little ringlets on the bottom, and he does come with a couple of chains, and they are made of metal as well, so you can loop them around the bottom and have him hold them from the chains. Again, not sure I'm going to advise doing that with the wrist joints on these third-party pieces. Sometimes they can be a little bit flimsy. Now, he also does come with a hammer. It's got a nice point on the back, so it's more of a sort of axe-style hammer. It's done fairly nicely as well, and again, made out of metal. So overall, it's a bit of a mixed bag with the accessories. Hopefully, the figure is a little bit better than the stuff he comes with. Either way, what we're going to do now is get the figure himself out here and take a closer look. And here we have the Red Sun Batman standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And I have to say, as rough as some of those accessory pieces were, the figure itself, just standing here, looks pretty darn good. Now yes, that mouth plate is still very orange, and it doesn't look 100% perfect, but bearing in mind that you can go out and find a Sideshow Batman for a relatively decent price these days, you could always upgrade your Red Sun Batman at the same time as picking up a more comic book style version of Batman for your collection, and having two Batman figures is definitely not a bad thing. But that being said, I know a lot of people aren't going to be happy with the mouth plate, so if this isn't a figure for you, definitely go ahead and pass. Not every figure is for every collector, but for me personally, what this figure comes with in terms of that diorama style display base and this outfit really does bring a lot to the table. Either way, what we're going to do now is get him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. And here we have the third-party Batman Red Sun figure up close and personal. Now, I'm going to remove his hat, but first of all, let's take a look at it. As you can see, it does have a little jewel on the top there. It isn't, unfortunately, the Communist logo. Apparently, sometime down the production time frame, they had to change the design because of course, copyright reasons. They didn't want to get in trouble with DC, Warner Brothers, or of course, Russia, I guess, so they removed that logo from the hat entirely, but it's really nicely done. You can see the ears do stick out the top. You do have to futz with it to get it looking as good as it does here. Some people might not even like the look of it altogether, and of course, you can remove it if it's not one that you do like, but that does reveal the fact that the neck is skin colored rather than black. I don't know why that's the case. It is a pretty easy fix. You just have to paint it black, and I'm sure you could figure out a way to do that with some enamel paint in a matte black. It would look pretty darn good. I personally will be doing that mod myself, but it's not something that really you should have to worry about, especially not on a 1/6 scale style figure. But nevertheless, you can see the head sits on the ball joint rather high. You can see a lot of the neck, and it's very wide for some reason. In the recasting process, I think the head sculpt's gotten a little bit wider. That mouth plate, though, is a total travesty. It's too orange. It looks ridiculous. Looks like Batman has gone and got a suntan. I don't really like the way that looks, but again, I am hoping to have that fixed by buying a Sideshow Batman. Now, the one thing that is really tricky to have fixed is the cape. Look at it. It looks ridiculous. It's too big. It's too poofy. There goes the mouthplate. This figure is starting to rub me the wrong way just a little bit. Don't get me wrong. There are good things about this figure, and we'll get to those in just a second, but the annoying things are very, very prevalent, especially this cape. It's too poofy. It's double layered. It's very, very clean in terms of the cutting around the bottom. The holes in it are nice. The weathering is nice, but overall, I really don't like the way it looks. It's very thick as well up the top here. A custom cape is definitely in order. Now, in terms of the outfit itself, I really do like it. It's nicely done. All the little pleather pieces are in the right place. These are all on Velcro, so you can remove them if that's something you'd like to do, and have little pouches, make it look like he's suiting up. But nevertheless, those annoying factors really do sort of put a dampener on the overall experience of owning this figure. Yes, the outfit's really good, it's nicely weathered, it's really well tailored, and I love the way I know if people are going to be able to overlook. Either way, what we're going to do now is pan the camera down and get a closer look at the rest of the outfit. And here we have the rest of Batman Red Sun's outfit. As you can see, the weathering on the pants is really, really nicely done. You can see a nice leather strap around the bottom as well. I also just noticed on the inside, there's a really nice sort of double layered woolen look to the material itself. Yes, it makes it a little bit more bulky. It kind of looks like he's got a bit of a pot belly, but again, you can work with this stuff. You can get it to look the way you want. It's not a permanent solution. You can use a different body if you'd like to get a little bit more articulation, or of course, you can just leave it as is. Now, as I said, the weathering looks really good. On the knee pads themselves, it's got that sort of speckling effect to the dirt. I really like the way the boots are done. It's got a really nice sort of mud pass over the bottom, and then underneath on the sole, it's really nicely painted in that brown as well. It looks like he's been through some stuff. He's been stomping around in the mud, and it really looks quite good for this version of Batman. But then again, look at that cape. Number one, I think it's too short. I'll have to rewatch the movie to see what Batman's cape did look like. Then again, that's not the penultimate look for this design of Batman. In the comics, they looked a little bit different to the animated movie. That's just the version that I've seen, but I do think the cape would look a little bit better, a little bit more ominous if it was slightly longer, so I will definitely be investigating the possibility of a custom cape for this figure. Now, for a quick side-by-side comparison, I really didn't know who to compare this guy to, so I opted for the BVS Batman. A lot of people do have him in their collection, so you know sort of what kind of scale we're looking at for this figure right here. Because they are from completely separate materials, I didn't really know where to go for that benchmark of scale, but I think this works perfectly fine. I mean, he's not too short. You can see he comes up to around the ear level for his little pointy ears at the top of his mask on the BVS Batman, so I do think that it works quite nicely. And of course, when you have him in your display, you're not going to really have him displayed alongside BVS Batman. You're probably going to have him in a completely separate area of the collection. This again is just really to give you a quick benchmark to see how tall this figure is. Now, just going over articulation, on the 1/6 scale Batman Red Sun figure. I'm going to be a little bit more careful with my particular copy of this figure, just because, well, it's mine and I don't want to break anything. When you get yours in hand, I'm sure you can push the joints a little bit further than I'm willing to go. Now, starting off with the head sculpt itself, it's on a joint at the upper part of the neck, and it is a fixed neck style design, so you just get that one joint, but you get a pretty decent range of motion out of that. Now, in terms of the arms, they go forward, or out, I should say, to about there before they start getting restricted by the suit. You can, of course, force it a little bit higher. That's not something that I'm willing to do. They go forward to about there before you start getting more restriction from the outfit. There's a bit of padding, and that's why it's a little bit tough to move. You get a single bend at the elbow, swivel at the upper bicep, and then you also do get a traditional 1/6 scale joint at the wrist. Now, in terms of the torso, there is padding, but you do get a fairly decent style crunch. They go forward and back, side to side, and swivel as well. There is also a joint at the waist. Now, in terms of the legs, they go forward to about there. They go out, not very far at all because the outfit is rather restricted. You do get a fairly decent double bend at the knee. It also swivels at the upper thigh. Then a traditional joint at the actual ankle itself, but because it's a fixed plastic boot without the split cut design, you pretty much get zero ankle articulation. Just wrapping up on this third-party, unlicensed 1/6 scale representation of Batman from Superman Red Sun. Now, this figure has really been a bit of a mixed bag for me. There are elements about this that I really do like, but then there are certain things which really do rub me the wrong way, and I think that's going to be the same for a lot of collectors. The outfit, I really do like. It's really well done, it's detailed very nicely, all of the little pockets and stuff that have got Velcro on it so you can remove it and move stuff around. I like that. It's done very nicely. The subtle weathering here and there all over the pouches and the boots, and even the cape is also done really well, the hat included. Now, where it starts to fall down is when you look at the cape and at the mouth plates. The cape is just too poofy. It's too sort of clean when you look towards the bottom in terms of how it's cut. It's too thick so it doesn't drape nicely. All of the little things that you know that really don't work for 1/6 scale capes are done here, and that's not a good thing. The second annoying thing is the mouth plate. It's too orange. It just doesn't look like an actual person. I know, it's supposed to be a comic book version of Batman, but even then, it looks too far off. Now, yes, you can switch it out with sideshow mouth plates because this head is a recast, and say what you will about being a recast in terms of the head sculpt itself, the overall work on the outfit I think makes up for that fact, at least for me personally. You will have to decide your stance on this figure. Now, that being said, there are a few things that can be salvaged from this piece if you'd like to do a custom, but overall, I really only think it needs a custom cape and maybe a new head sculpt to be a really decent figure. As I said in the previous Batman Who Laughs video, the bones are there. That means you're going to be able to get a really nice looking figure at the end of the day if you do want to put in just a little bit of work. Now, I picked up my version of this figure from toyswonderland.com, and I have included the link in the description below just for your reference, and I've also included a link to 6 Scale Network, the brand new awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.